Hello and welcome to the 65th episode of Growing Up Geek. That is the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. My name is Brad, and I am joined this week by a man who loves both of his Twitter followers, my brother Rob.
Whoop day!
It always goes back to 90s hip-hop for some reason.
Yeah.
Yo, my name is... Have you noticed when people rap, in general, they use 90s yo, my name is as an intro?
Right. And I'm really dash something
Yeah.
rhymes
Yo, my
with
name is...
that.
And I'm here to stay. I love rap music in a major way. And it's like, I have not heard that in a modern rap song.
I love it.
Yeah.
Make it a record.
So you are on Twitter, as I said in the intro.
I am tweeting. In no, Mom, that is not a euphemism.
People are peeping your tweets or some such nonsense.
Exactly. They're checking my tweets out.
Yeah. You're the last person to this party, as you mentioned.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. I've been hearing a lot about it. I mean, apparently Barack Obama is on there. That's a pretty major thing to see it.
Yeah.
Like the president is
The
blogging
president tweets.
It'd be great to see him at like a UN meeting and he's just like pulls out the
iPhone.
cell phone.
Yeah.
But no, basically what it is it's blogging.
Oh, you don't have to do this. No, I
no.
think our audience is smart enough. I think they know what Twitter is. But
If you don't know what Twitter is, email us and we'll tell you.
no, send us a letter in the mail if you don't know.
Exactly. By pigeon carriage.
I read your tweets. I peeped your tweets, and they're actually pretty awesome. So do you want to go ahead and give out your...
Yeah. All right. So it's twitter.com/GUGRob.
Right, short for Growing Up
GUG.
Geek. Yeah.
Yeah, Grown Up Geek. And perhaps one day, Brad, you'll join the Tweet community.
The tweed community. The tweets. I love that tweet developed just sort of naturally. You know, like over time people will just come up with whatever slang and it's like, oh, can we please? Oh, no, I guess we can't change it. It's what it is, you know?
Simulated relationships with people who are famous is always in vogue.
Celebrities.
Yeah, that.
So let's go ahead and get into the news then. Geek news. I'll start with you, Rob. What was your favorite geeky news story this week?
Something that just jumped out to me, and if you've been checking my tweets, you know.
Oh, God. This is going to be like this
right.
now. I can tell.
NBC is renaming the Sci-Fi Channel.
Now, first of all, just clarification. They own Sci-Fi Channel?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh,
Or
okay.
maybe they recently acquired it. That's a possibility because why this is suddenly happening now, I'm shocked, but it's... So, Sci-Fi
Yes.
is now being renamed Sci-Fi. No, it's spelled phonetically SYFY. So it's still sci-fi, but my goodness. And the reason why is because they can't own the name sci-fi spelled the original way because that's a genre. That's a pre-existing term. They can't market that. So they're like, well, if we change the spelling to SYFY, now we have a brand name. Now we can put this on shirts and charge people for it. And I'm just disgusted by it as a concept. I know CNET compared it to New Coke as terms as like an ill-advised just move on anybody's part. Because it looks sissy.
It looks wrong. Like when you look at the word SYFY, it looks like Siffy.
Yeah.
As in syphilis.
As in syphilis.
And the thing that bothers me, too, is that they said they want to extend this into a brand. Like you said, you know, they don't have plans yet, but I guess it would allow them to do things like Siffy Games, Siffy Kids. And when you think about Siffy Kids, you just expect Jerry Lewis to walk out or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and then my ultimate realization about this was that it actually does work because sci-fi originals and sci-fi stories really don't deserve to be called sci-fi.
Okay, now I wanted to call you out on that because I saw your tweets. I saw what you said.
Yeah.
And I tend to disagree. I think that there's been some good sci-fi original content. Battlestar Galactica. I mean, do you not think Children of Dune? I mean, for heaven's sakes, they stuck with Mystery Science Theater when nobody cared, and that was commendable at least.
Pterodactyl and
exactly
Carnosaur.
Okay, so there's been some ups and downs. Yeah.
Alien Express.
Now, see, I honestly, when I flip to Sci-Fi Channel, I get the message that says, please subscribe. So I haven't watched it in years.
They had some sort of giant snake thing. That's what I'm talking about. No,
okay.
yeah, you do have Battlestar Galactica, and I mean, even still, we concluded like Mystery Science Theater really wasn't even like about being sci-fi. That was like,
it was a weird, it was like a weird
acquisition, right? So
Sci-Fi. It just sounds like a cute pet. Like I hope they have a mascot.
That
Saturday
would be
mornings
great.
with Sci-Fi, the bear with syphilis. I think it should be said, I mean, for my money, science fiction is probably the genre I'm most interested in. Most of the stories we cover on this show, most of the media tends to revolve around that, and I think it's a great genre, and to have a whole channel dedicated to it is awesome. Carnosaur, on the other hand, is not awesome. Sounds like a CC's Pizza.
Or at least a member of the rock band Heart.
Exactly.
All right, so that's my news story. Brad, I want to know what news story stood out for you this week.
Actually, that was mine too.
Sci-Fi.
So Sci-Fi has consumed our minds. It's so sad because it's the tiniest trivial piece of news. It's like, hey, get a load of this. Sci-Fi is being renamed Sci-Fi. Isn't that stupid? And then it's like, it dominates the blogosphere or whatever. But that was on my mind too. So I have to say we have a tie.
All right. Did you also want to mention iPod? iPhone.
iPod. No, I do not want to mention the iPod, but I guess we could quickly say that Apple's finally introducing features that they should have introduced a long time ago, and they're calling it iPod 3.0.
Hey. Or iPhone 3.0.
iPhone. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, geez, I'm outdated now.
It should be like 2.1.
Yeah. It should just be called iPhone We're Sorry. That's what it should be called.
iPhone sorry.
So that is Geek News for the week. Sci-Fi.
Sci-Fi.
And so let's turn our eyes now to our main topic of discussion, which is going to be a video game this week. A lot of people looking forward to this big sequel, Resident Evil 5. Or as they say on the menu,
Resident Evil 5.
Perfect. I think that's it for the show. I think I'll just use that.
That's my review.
Yes. If you haven't played a Resident Evil game in a long time like myself, I have to bring you up to speed. Slow zombies and mansions are sort of behind the times. Now there is a lot less boo and a lot more action.
Yeah.
We now have the Las Plagas parasite, which sort of infects people and controls them, but they're not zombies. They're not undead.
Not zombies.
And you play as Chris Redfield, who is working with the BSAA to counter bioterrorism in Africa, specifically Kjuju. And it's the very first time that they've introduced co-op as a feature. You now have a partner whose name is Sheva, and together you two battle your way through the hordes of parasitic natives. And there are a lot of natives. So, Rob, is this game any good?
Is it any good? Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely any good.
Awesome. We're off to a great start.
Well, no, I'm really enjoying it. It's one of those games that I find myself thinking about, as the long days wear on at work. I'm just like, Resident Evil.
And speaking of zombies, you had to work the day after St. Patrick's Day.
I did, and everybody is hungover today, and it's just like...
It probably looks a lot like Resident Evil.
Very much. Just everybody walks in just wearing sunglasses, and they're like, why is this $1? Why can't this be free? Give me a lot of bags.
Yeah, so you're enjoying the game so far then, it sounds like.
Yeah, I am enjoying it, despite the fact that the controls are more or less the same thing they were on Resident Evil 4 for the PlayStation or 2.
Right, there's been a lot of online backlash about the controls. Because this is more action-oriented, people have been analyzing it compared to other third-person action games, and they're finding it lacking.
And you know what? I guess in a way it is. Like, if it is supposed to be an action game, these controls kind of lack. But Capcom, they're very stern on this. They're like, the control choice was a decision.
Yeah.
If it were easy to move around, then it wouldn't be that scary when you encounter a thing.
Right.
It's always been that way with Resident Evil, because I remember originally you would kind of pilot people like a truck. You would turn them
like a tank.
There was no sidestepping. There was turning and moving forward or backwards.
So just think how bad it could be.
Exactly. Just think about it, kid.
No, I will say that there is a learning curve for the controls here, and I was worried about them being really frustrating. But over time, I got used to it, and you can get good at this game. Like, you just have to sort of wrap your mind around the way that they want it.
Yeah, that it's not necessarily move and shoot, it's move around or shoot. And still, I feel like the Wii controller was by far the best.
Right.
If you ever played the Resident Evil 4 rendition of that, it's just such a joy. And you don't feel like there's any barrier between what you want to do in the game and how the game is reacting. Even while we were playing the game, there were moments where I died because I was trying to turn and run. And, what helps is that you do realize that the game is built around that. They do accommodate you. There's always kind of a moment before an enemy attacks you.
Yeah, it's basically broken down into short action sequences. There'll be a load screen, and then you'll enter an area. You'll have to clear out everything in that area, and then you'll proceed. So there's normally places you can hide or stand where there's enough distance between you and the enemy, I thought.
Yeah, the music picks up and then it dies down.
Right. So you and I played co-op.
Yeah.
I thought that our co-op experience was fine, but weirdly enough, I think I prefer the single player in this game because our boss fight with this giant creature came down to the last bullet.
Yeah.
It literally, our inventory management between each other was give me this, you give me that, I'll take this, you take that. And it's you can pull up an inventory screen, but just like Dead Space, it doesn't pause the game. So you have to work your butt off to manage your inventory in the middle of combat. And especially when you have another person that you're trying to share stuff with who's a real person. As opposed to in single player, Sheva actually, you can tell her to pick up almost everything, and when you need it, she throws it at you. She'll heal you constantly. I can't tell you how many times that she's shoved a syringe into my chest in the middle of some whacked out, tribal fight that I was having, and she figures things out. She figures out boss battles, and she yells, "Maybe we shouldn't fight it here. Maybe we should run up the stairs." So maybe that seems easy to people, but I actually preferred the single, which I didn't think I would.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the satisfaction of saving your friend is still cool, but I'm going to say the single player seemed to flow a lot better. There was a lot more discussion when it came down to co-op, which I guess is cool because co-op, it really should be about strategizing and things like that. So it does bring that. It is a good co-op experience and worthwhile.
Sure, but do you think we could have lost that fight? That really makes me nervous that we were down to one bullet left.
Well, here's kind of the thing I found out that's sort of forgiving about this game, is that it has a automatic save system, which wasn't in Resident Evil 4 necessarily. I mean, there were checkpoints, but in Resident Evil 4 you had the typewriters.
Right.
Now, I kind of miss them. I got to admit, in Resident Evil 5, the typewriter is a staple of the genre, but you use that to save. Dude. And this one, it just saves on its own. Also, Resident Evil 4, we had the store clerk.
Yeah.
Welcome.
He's not here.
He's not here. Instead, between missions, you have this selection screen.
Right.
But you'll get that menu after you die,
right,
and you're going back into the game. And so that affords you the ability to be like, okay, so I figured out what I'm supposed to do with this boss.
Right.
And you can do that item management right then and there before you jump in.
It's true. And it is cool that you can share things. I mean, it's just more challenging, and I preferred the easier setting, but I think I always do, so.
Yeah, but it adds that layer of fear, you have to go through your inventory while there's a guy running at you with an axe, and you're like, oh man. If they
tense.
gave you breathing room, it wouldn't be nearly as an intense game. And I think that is kind of a cool thing. It's one of those controversial decisions that I feel like puts Capcom above just the desire of the player. They literally are like, we want to make this intense, and this is what's going to be fun. Same thing with Dead Rising a long time ago, how it had the single save thing.
Right.
Even though it was terrible, and in many ways you're like, oh gosh, I can't deal with this. It made the game so much more intense. Because you're like, I can't afford to lose 1 second. I gotta work through this. So
I guess you could basically choose your path based on co-op or single. I do want to just throw down some general comments. I think the game is very good.
Yeah,
and I was actually not expecting to like it as much, so I've been pleasantly surprised. And like you said, it's stuck in my head. I keep wanting to go back in there. I got a lot better with the controls, and now I'm at the point where I shoot out kneecaps, stomp them in the head, grab the ammo, reload the gun, shoot again. It's like I'm really quick with it now.
Yeah.
And I kind of miss the boo moments. To me, Resident Evil was a lot about a licker crawling across a window. And you going, oh god.
That happened, and I shut the system off. I remember.
Yeah, exactly. And we all remember the dog through the window when, there was literally like spilled drinks, across America. This is more action, and yet it's good action. There's a lot of good action sequences in here. There's some quick time events. There's some huge gross bosses. There's some vehicle sequences. So they keep the action, filled with variety.
Yeah.
There's a particularly cool part where you're riding on a boat and you're flying under these bridges that have exploding barrels on them, and you can shoot the barrels out, and it never feels like it's like out of your control or it's just a movie sequence playing out. Like you really feel like you're like in this amazing situation.
And speaking of movie sequences, how about the graphics in this game?
Oh yeah. Among the best that I've ever seen.
Seriously, it's like, okay, it's obvious to me now that the next generation of consoles, we're pretty much going to have photorealistic graphics.
It is gorgeous.
Absolutely. And it's telling when you cannot tell if a cutscene is pre-rendered or using the in-game engine. Now, we're almost certain it's pre-rendered just because the animation amount.
Oh, and the facial animation has to be called out too. In the cutscenes, dude... Yeah, these faces are good. And like the eyes, like the movement of the eyes is a lot of it. Like they're not dead stares. They're like looking around and side glancing, and especially Irving, the Irving character, I thought was just very convincing facial animation.
Yeah.
Speaking of Irving, this story is kind of confusing.
Yeah. Well, you're just kind of tossed into this situation, and you're just like, there's all this exposition, but you really don't get what's going on. They're just like, Fox Archipelago. No, wait, that's the other game.
BSAA.
Yeah, BSAA and bioterrorism, weapon.
Progenitor virus. And you're like, what? In fact, Amber was sitting there listening, and she thought that the guy said genital virus, which would explain a lot, I guess, if that was why these freaks were raged up and running towards you. And I made the mistake of saying, well, they're running at you with their flaming sword. And right after saying genital virus, it was the wrong thing to say. I'll just say that.
I think it's the right thing to say.
There you go.
The story is something that is never really at the core of Resident Evil. I think that, it's just enough for their means.
It's not a huge knock against it. It's just that if you're trying to follow this, and they even have a detailed history of the games included in there, and it's like, oh, that's great, but as you start reading it, you're like, holy crap, this is convoluted. But yeah, overall, I'm really enjoying it. I don't know, do you have anything else closing thoughts on Resident Evil 5?
I guess just one more realization about the pace of the game, and that I realize is like the controls do a great job of lending themselves to a tense situation where you actually have to relax yourself as you're aiming at a guy who's coming at you. Like, for whatever reason, if you're nervous, you're not going to do well, When you have hordes of zombies coming at you, you have to be like, okay, aim down the scope carefully, aim at the head, and shoot, It's mental as well as, physical, like what you have to do in order to be good at this game. I'm going to say this game is a worthwhile buy. It's deep, it's rich, there's always good replayability with these games, so go out there, get it. It's a big title.
It's awesome. It's funny, that argument that you brought up about, you just have to change your attitude and relax, That stuff always ticks me off whenever I hear somebody say that. If I'm having a problem with the game and then they're like, no, the problem is with you, But Resident Evil, I have to admit, it's true. The problem was with me. And I'm sure friends of mine who I moaned at are going to rejoice. But it's like, I really did have to just sort of learn the controls. And once I got them, I'm fine. I think it's really fun. And looking forward to jumping back into Kjuju and fighting off the raging genital virus.
Pro-genital virus.
I am not pro-genital virus, just for the record.
Clearly.
So that is Resident Evil 5. There it is.
There it is.
Good start to the video game year here so far. There's been a couple great titles, and that can join the ranks as far as I'm concerned.
I'm concerned too.
Okay, so that was Resident Evil, and before we close out our show, we always like to get a little nostalgic, and I'm reaching down right now and grabbing some stuff that I rummaged out of my basement earlier today. I was down there, and I dug out a Dick Tracy sticker book, actually poster book. And this is a giant, sticker/posters, yeah. Okay, so this has two-sided full-color posters from the Dick Tracy movie, and I thought, you know what? Let's just talk about Dick Tracy, because I was looking at this, and there's some freaks in this movie. This is the Warren Beatty. For those who don't know, this is the Warren Beatty Madonna
Co-venture.
Yeah, exactly. She played Breathless Mahoney, and I actually remember there's a scene in here where she's wearing like a sheer nightgown, and you can like see through it. And I guess that would make it sheer. And that was in like a PG Disney movie. I mean, this is kind of marketed. Oh, I just ripped it.
I thought it was Touchstone. Uh-oh.
Whatever it was, I remember a friend's mom saying, "Well, she's not breastless, Mahoney." Oh, and I remember like that was the kind of joke that mom and dad would look at each other and snicker, and we like kind of wouldn't get it, you know. But Prune Face, Rodent. There's a guy just named Rodent.
Yeah. Bugs.
They took a literal approach with these characters and just turned those freaks that I think were meant as like cartoonish exaggerations, and they just made them into hideous, real people.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, it actually turned out to be a pretty like decent movie, you know? Like
yeah.
Not
God,
bad
Dustin
at all.
Hoffman is in it.
It wasn't Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
That was Hook.
No, Dustin Hoffman is totally...
Oh, yeah. Sorry. He's
No.
Mumbles.
Yeah, he's totally Mumbles.
I was thinking of Big Boy. Yeah.
No, Al Pacino.
Al Pacino's Big Boy.
Dustin Hoffman and Al Pacino to be in this crazy movie with so much prosthetic makeup on everybody's face. I mean, these people are freakish. The brow has like literally like full like butts on his face.
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
really one of those, you know, true like comic to film. You know, in this age where like we have technology to aid us with, you know, 300 and Watchmen, and it's easy to bring these things to life, you know,
Right.
but they literally had to, you know, like hand draw some stuff. They had to like go with crazy like ultra bright colors to get it to read on the camera the right way.
Yeah, I used to watch the making of this on our grandmother's Betamax player and in Connellsville. And I can remember them talking about using the actual paints from the comic or the cartoon strip in the movie. Like Warren Beatty's hat and coat was the actual yellow.
Wow.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, so it's a weird movie, but it got made somehow. And like people talk about, you know, faithful adaptations now and stuff, but like Littleface is a dude with a giant head and a little face. So
Yep.
it's fully there. I hate to keep focusing on the villains, but they were the coolest part.
No, yeah, it's the most character.
And I'm tearing
in
the
that
heck out of this thing. I gotta stop touching it. It's like
Stop
the
it.
Constitution or something.
Yeah.
The Blank was another one who just
The Blank
smooth
was
face, yeah.
was introduced in this movie. Actually, it's kind of like an invented character, but it played an important role.
And there's a picture of a guy being put into a cement box. This was supposedly for kids.
The bath.
But yeah, they totally put a dude in concrete and like drowned him or whatever. That was Lips Manless.
Yep. Who loved oysters.
He did. It was disgusting.
I didn't even know like Stephen Sondheim had some doings with the music in this. There's original musical numbers that Madonna performs, and like
I forgot about that.
it was a very lively movie, and it does touch some nostalgia. If you go back and check it out,
I bet you this would be a killer Blu-ray. Like if they cleaned up the color and everything,
Yeah.
it'd probably look amazing.
it holds up as a movie, which is weird because you think it
Have
would
you
just
watched
be
it
this kind of
recently?
lame. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
I don't know, like Warren Beatty, for whatever reason, like he knew that there was something more there than just, you know, funny characters. And remember, there was a Daffy Duck cartoon that sort of
I
parodied
think
it
so, yeah.
and just took those characters to the extreme. It's like Willie Knife Eyes, and his eyes.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I bet you that all these actors grew up reading the Dick Tracy comic strip.
Yeah, because that's like 1930s stuff, like Depression era.
Well, yeah, or maybe their parents did.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they wouldn't be able to rope this many actors, like huge stars, into like a Watchmen or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like there must be nostalgia there. But where the heck is Warren Beatty these days?
He's old. I mean, I didn't even realize he's been around for a long time. He's been in black and white movies. He's directing and stuff like that. I think he may.
We have no idea.
We have no idea.
I will say real quick before ending, this was underneath a pile of Dune coloring books. And the wackiest thing about this is when you look, first of all, who would buy their kid a Dune color? It's like, I've actually colored Baron Harkonnen's boils. But when you look, they were 19 cents at Pick and Save. Holy crap.
Of course.
What a different time we live in now. So that is our show for this week. If you grew up geek like us and you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss, hit up our website, growing-up-geek.com, or find Rob on Twitter at twitter.com/GUGRob. And I guess that's it for this week. Thank you for listening. My name is Brad.
Big boy did it. Big boy did it. Big boy did it.
And we'll see you next week.
Whoop day!